Hello and welcome back to everyone that's tuned in to the American Ultra Stock channel. Thank you so much for being here. Today we're bringing to you guys a preview for the second leg of the Nations League. I know some people don't really like it, myself included, but it is what it is. It's what we have, and it is technically the first official tie that Poch has under us. It's competitive. It gets us to that final, and moving on right here with some takeaways from last match. I mean, not much to say. We know it was a bit of a snooze fest, but now looking into the second leg right here, anything that you think it's notorious and comes into play, carry on from that game, apart from the lead, of course.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to see our full thoughts on the game, of course, watch the last video. But I think the main things were that it was a boring, gritty game. We ended up getting the lead early, kind of held on for the rest of it, executed the game plan well, and the most important thing, a win and a clean sheet on the road puts us in the perfect position. Really, there's no excuses now. I expect a lot better of a game at home, and honestly, the fact that we're already up, there's nowhere to go but even further up. It should be a lot more comfortable, I would hope, especially considering the fact that we get Weah back from suspension. I think that's going to be huge because it'll mean we hopefully actually have some sort of a threat on the right hand side, which we didn't have in the first game at all from Musa. And especially when you consider the fact that, I mean, I know he was suspended in the first game for Jamaica, but Mikel Antonio losing his passport alongside one of their brightest youngsters, Kaheem Dixon. So they're not allowed to play. They have to go back to England. And Ethan Pinnock, their best center back, is still out. And you have Mason Holgate as well, who's probably their second best center back, got a red card in the first leg at the end of the game. Kind of stupid, really, because it means he's suspended. There's really just no excuses, honestly. I mean, Jamaica are already a mess. Now they're missing 4 players. We get one back. Johnny and Morris are still injured. I think that's the only other thing you have to mention. So a little bit weak in the midfield, but really, it shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, and I mean, I won't say anything about Jamaica. I think at the end of the video we'll say that we'll try to focus on them. But you talked about Weah coming back, possibly starting. Let's keep in mind now, I know that these Jamaican players, there is a bit of a question mark on how much they care about this. I mean, losing the passport, unless you're 12 or something, there's no excuse for that. But if they want to win, and I think Steven McLaren probably wants to get results, he looks like he's hungry there. They'll try to open up. It should be an open game at a way, way better pitch, considerably better, which should favor us, and they would be probably exposed. So I do need to ask you right here, looking at the lineup, any major changes that you would say? Because now, like you said, Morris and Johnny are out. I think Tesman's the only true CDM. Who would you field out? Any big changes, even in the back line, midfield? Your thoughts?
I think there are a couple changes I would make to start out. We'll just go through the whole lineup. In goal, it's going to still be Matt Turner. I would like to see Schulte play, but I know that's not realistic. It's going to be Turner. I mean, he had a great penalty save in the last game. There's no reason really for Poch to drop him. I think he's probably going to start every game that he's healthy for up until the World Cup, for better or for worse. Hopefully he can just get the job done. At the back line, I think it kind of stays the same. It's not like we can really replace Jedi or Scally because there's no backups to them in the camp. Mackenzie should keep his spot, although I do want to see Tim Ream lose his spot. I know it's not going to happen because he's the captain. We spoke about this last video. I think one of my biggest takeaways from the game is that we need to find a new captain because Tim Ream is a little bit past it, and he's just going to keep getting worse. I would like to see Austin Trusty start this game alongside Mark McKenzie, go back to their union days, try to build back that chemistry that they used to have. Chris Richards would normally be the guy, but he is still recovering from an injury, and I think already with the lead going at home, there's no need to risk him really for re-injury. I mean, whoever we put at center back realistically should be able to get the job done. I think Richards is just here to meet the coach, continue to bond with the players. I don't know, just for team morale, I guess, because he seems like a pretty cool guy off the pitch. But I think no real problems there. In the midfield, I think it should be Tessman and McKennie. I think McKennie should drop back. He was at the 10 in the last game, a little bit more defensive, which makes sense on the road. But I think at home, we should, even with the lead, try to be more attacking. Like you said, Jamaica are probably going to need to push for a goal since they're down, which will leave them more exposed. Have someone in transition at the 10 who can get us going the other way. I think that should be Malik Tillman. Aronson is back. He didn't feature in the last game. I know Tillman just played a lot, but Aronson coming off an illness, and I still think Malik Tillman deserves a little bit of a chance despite his bad performances in the past for the national team, this seems like a perfect opportunity for him to come into the starting lineup with us at full strength, with Pulisic, Weah, and Pepe as the front three. I think that's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, that's interesting because now that you're talking about it, I mean, I'll just start with the back line. I would love to see Reem out as well. And for obvious purposes, I think we need to replace him. I know he had an interview right after the match where he said that he thinks he'll play for 2 or 3 years. I mean, hopefully he plays in MLS for 2 or 3 years, helps a youngster there or something. But we need to start this transitioning, the post-Reem era. I would love to see Trusty there as well. He's a fast left-footed as well, so it would be perfect. I mean, we already have. There's no way really to quantify the experience in this match. It's not that valuable. We're already with the lead, playing at home. I would do that too, but I don't think it'll happen. On the midfield, I think we might see a remake, and this is crazy, of a Serie B midfield from last year. I think it might be Tessman and Buzio with McKennie at the 10. I just have a feeling that that would be the case. If not, if you ask me what I would go for, I would go with Tessman, McKennie, and this sounds crazy. Some people are going to grill me for this, and I'm not a huge fan of the guy either, but I'll start Aronson at the 10, honestly. I just think it suits the game a little bit more. We'll be in transition. He's in hot form from his club, and I don't know, Tillman's always a little bit nonchalant. I think he might even benefit from, I don't know, he's just seems like he's asleep half of the time. So coming on in the second half, maybe his energy level is a little bit more up compared to the others. That's what I would do. And on the front three, I think it will be pretty self-explanatory, like you said. Now moving on, I mean, what we might face in this game, any concerns? It's crazy. I think Jamaica, it's sad to say, maybe if this was a more widened channel, and let us know as well if we do a series debriefing our rivals in CONCACAF or something, because I think they have such potential. But even now, talking about anything that we should be watching out for, it's tough. I mean, do you see the motivation there? Do you think they can pose any threats in this game that we should be watching out for?
I think we do need to watch out for Shamar Nicholson up front. He's not the biggest name or the best player necessarily, but he's very physical. Most of Jamaica are, especially when you look at the back line, and of course their strikers up top. Antonio's usually the guy there, but he was suspended. Now he lost his passport, so it's still going to be Nicholson, and he gave us problems in the other leg. He's the one who drew the penalty, got through a bunch of our defenders. I think he was really the only one who was actually posing a threat for Jamaica, which is a little bit surprising considering the quality they do have on the wings. Leon Bailey and Damari Gray, of course. Gray missing the penalty. Bailey, we all know him from Aston Villa, his excellent form last season. If they all play up to their potential, and this is just the story for Jamaica, they could be really dangerous. And maybe that's starting to shift a little bit. They did beat Canada on the road in the last Nations League quarterfinals. It does have to be said. They lost at home, I think it was, and then they ended up winning in Canada, and then progressing to the semis, where of course we ended up beating them in extra time. But they're probably going to be looking to do a similar thing here under McLaren. He's going to want to make a statement as a somewhat new manager. This is his first, I guess, knockout tie. He had the Nations League group stage, but what does that count for, really? I mean, it was pretty easy games against lower level opposition. I think they definitely have a point to prove. Whether they're willing to go out and prove that point is kind of the big question. From what we've seen in the past, the answer is probably no, but you can't be let off guard, especially when the quality is there. All they need is one opportunity, and it's tied just like that, and it's a completely different game. I will say, though, in transition, we should be able to absolutely burn them, because their center backs, especially with Pinnock and Holgate out, are very, very weak. The fullbacks aren't necessarily the greatest either. Amari Bell, whether he plays center back or left back, he's okay from Luton Town, but other than that, it's just not really a strong point. The midfield, again, regardless if we put out whether it's Busio, McKennie, Tessman, Aronson, Tillman, any combination of those, they should be able to control it fine. They don't really have much of a midfield threat, especially with Bobby Reed not in the roster. So I think at the end of the day, we just need to be wary of what they have in the attack. And of course, they still have a great goalkeeper in Andre Blake, but that shouldn't matter when we're already up.
Absolutely. And with all that being said, taking into account the advantage we have, we're going to ask you for a prediction right here. And I just feel like it's really tough, and kind of it could be simple. So just for the sake of a bit more of discussion, prediction, and what would be a successful second tie for you? Because I think we can agree that even though it was 1-0, kind of boring, we can all be happy to some extent with the fight that we showed. Do you think that a 2-0 win, but kind of the same scenario as the first one, is disappointing, or do you want to see us show out and beat them, even if it is 1-0 with a man of the match performance from Blake? Which one would you favor? Do you think it's crucial to get that marquee performance in terms of pressure and gameplay?
Yeah, I'll talk about what the expectation should be first. And I will say, I don't think you can call anything against Jamaica a marquee performance, even within CONCACAF. I mean, they're probably the fifth best team. Maybe you could say, maybe fourth. I don't know. That's, I think, pushing it a little bit. In terms of talent, sure. But in terms of their actual play, probably not. I think we need to go out there and smash them. Not that it would be a marquee result, like I said, but the fact that we're at home, we're already playing with it now with good confidence after beating them away. They're already clearly hurting, especially in key positions, and we now have almost a full strength team. Away is back. That's going to be a huge boost. I think we can't really emphasize it enough. It's such a huge upgrade from what we had previously, and yeah, I honestly I want to see a 4-0. I think it might be crazy to say, especially considering our historic results against just CONCACAF teams in general. We never seem to blow anyone out. The only blowout I can think of anytime recently was against Ghana. I was actually at that game. I think it was last year. But I mean, if you look at where Ghana are now, it kind of makes sense. They're not even qualifying for the AFCON, which is crazy to me. But that's a whole nother story for another day. As for what I think we will see, I think it'll be a 3-0. If you remember the performances, I think this might be a little bit harsh, but the games against Uzbekistan from last year, or Trinidad and Tobago as well. We were at that one thanks to Brett Oppenheim and USSF. Those kind of performances where it's kind of a little bit shaky up in the air. We're dominating, but we can't really get clear-cut chances. And then at the end, they get tired, they concede, they let their guard down, and we just score a couple quick-fire goals. I think we will get somewhat of an early goal, go up 1-0, and then the last two will come pretty late in the second half when Jamaica are desperate, trying to push to get back in the game, down 2 goals in the tie already. We'll be able to hit them on the counter. Pepe will score 1, Pulisic will score 1, and then we'll say someone off the bench. Maybe Zendejas. Why not? Maybe he'll get put in for a late cameo, get a goal. I don't know. It doesn't really matter who scores. What matters is the result, and I just want to see us thrash them in every aspect. Hopefully we get that. I'm just not so sure.
Yeah, I think that I'm going with a 4-0 right here, and that's wow. I don't even recognize myself. I'm typically very pessimistic, but I think that we will get an early goal. I agree with that, and I think the floodgates will be open really, because I don't see Jamaica being desperate for a win, especially if they concede within 15 minutes. I don't see it in those guys to really have a comeback. I think we'll score another one in the first half and come back and eventually score some somewhat late goals. As for the goal scorers, I don't really know. I'm going to go with 2 from Pepe, 1 from Pulisic, and 1 from Vasquez with a late cameo. That would be nice for him. But let us know in the comments below, what do you think the scoreline will be? What do you think the lineup will be? I think this is sort of a glorified audition for some guys, really, like Buzio, like Tessman, got a start but still needs to really solidify himself in the roster. I think even for Vasquez, for Pepe still to kind of keep the claim that he should be the starting 9 when Balogun's back. So maybe that's what this is for, because I think the tie will be a lot easier than the last time we played Jamaica stateside. So stay tuned. We'll have a review from that match, hopefully a very happy one right after. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll see you next time.